idea of making these sort of checkups, they ensure that progress is being made. All right, the Odus that support this idea that one must show that level of care and concern for progress and development could be found in Ogbe Alara, which speaks of altruism, or altruism, some people say. But altruism is the idea of making sacrifices, putting others first, putting others before yourself. Being a true leader requires this very specific quality because it allows other people to know that you genuinely care. All right? So having a sense of altruism brings about growth, the development of people, and organizations. All right? And when we speak of altruism, it is generally expressed through a sense of charity as well as a sense of sacrifice, making individual sacrifices. All right? The next point that is here, in becoming the leader you are meant to be, is the idea of providing support and training. All right? These things speak about succession planning, and it also talks about building a lasting legacy. In other words, what would you as the leader be remembered for? What contribution you made that many generations after you are gone, you will be remembered for. The Odu, or essays, that speak on this could be found in Irete Meji, which warns about the death of a legacy. Otun Meji also speaks about what is called rotational leadership. All right? It also talks about developing systems where meritocracy exists. Okay? It means one should not be practicing nepotism. You don't just put somebody because they're close to you or that is your good friend. You develop a system where people's performance is evaluated, where their abilities are discovered and recognized, and where they are given an opportunity to use their God-given skill and ability so that their destiny could be fulfilled. All right? Now, in terms of the word, the next one, rather, let me just go to the next one, so not to be too long, right? The next aspect of leadership is encouraging candor. All right? Candor has to do with the freedom of bias and malice. All right? Otura or Otura teaches the idea of truth. All right? It being the nature of Oludumare, who is our ultimate example, that we must all work towards being truthful, because that is an aspect of Candor. Candor also talks about being outspoken and not just talking nonsense, but speaking truth. All right? So next in line in leadership is the area of concentrating on solutions and not only on problems. Meji Ogbe supports this by mentioning understanding and light Okay? Ika Owori also speaks about seeking out answers. Okay? And that goes hand in hand with the idea of finding solutions. All right? Another important aspect in becoming the leader you were meant to be is the idea of praising performance. All right? This means recognizing contributions, small or great. When people make sacrifices and they make efforts, as a good leader or a potential leader or a developing leader, it is necessary to recognize the contributions of others. Why? Iwori Meji teaches mutual appreciation, so it supports the idea of recognizing and appreciating the contribution of others. Odu Ogbe also speaks on the rewards for alignment with destiny and the Irete or the blessings that you receive for being in alignment and for working towards the fulfillment of your destiny. All right? And also, the next point is be the leader who is responsible for your own life and leadership. By this, we are talking about taking initiative, personal responsibility, and being proactive. The essays that support this is Odu Ogbe, which speaks greatly towards fulfilling one's destiny by doing what you are sent to do and using the initiative. Obara Meji speaks of intelligence, doing what you need to do, but doing it with wisdom and integrity. And Otura Ogbe also supports it, but Otura Ogbe focuses on strategic action. All right, so for those leaders, we must consider being responsible and through the example of your own life, leading others using initiative, personal responsibility, and proactivity. All right, the next one that is very, very important is that you must lead from within. In other words, we're saying be genuine, be who you are. Know what is your purpose and fulfill your purpose. Set out to the fulfillment of your purpose through hard work and commitment. Do not let others stop you from doing what you need to do to create the life that you want or to have the life that you were meant to have as a part of your destiny. By so doing, what happens is you inspire others towards recognizing and following their own unique destiny. All right? Don't try to make others into replicas of yourself. The only aspect of who you are that it is important for you to pass on to others is the concept of Iwapili. This is a very important point to learn. And Iwapili, of course, which manifests in multiple other forms or other streams, such as Iwarere and Omoluabi. All right, so that is the last lesson in the Decolonizing Your Mind series, which you should watch a few times to make sure you get the idea. But the idea is to be the leader you are meant to be and to become a role model where you will be building a lasting legacy. All right. And with that, now we would go into the reading of the history. All right. I would begin this session with cedulants and capitulants. All right. Of course, I am going to give you a little backdrop. This book is based on lectures given at the University of the West Indies Mona campus in the Department of History by Carl C. Campbell. And this particular book gives the history of who we know today as mulattoes. These would have been bi-ethnic persons who were a mixture of Moors and Portuguese from Spain, and also Moors and Spaniards from Spain. And some of these mulattoes were in fact French and Africans mixed into one. All right. This book described their struggle for equality and for freedom in Trinidad, but it also speaks of other islands in the Caribbean. All right. I'm reading from page 75. If there were any white liberals among the white elites in Trinidad, supportive of the free Coloureds' thrust to civil equality, we do not know of them. Colonel Fullerton, one of the triumvirate of the governors in 1803, was opposed to needless oppression of free Coloureds. Chief Justice George Smith was so unfriendly to the social pretensions of Creole whites in the colony that he looked like a potential ally of the Coloureds.